6:21. Little sunshine expected through the day here today with clouds and the highs into the mid-60s. Currently, it's 49 degrees. And Tanya J. Powers standing by on the line right now. Tanya, good morning.
Good morning.
And let's see. The topic for today is, will Trump go after Clinton? And out of nowhere, we get a Paul Ryan card thrown in there.
Yeah.
So if he is going after Clinton, it seems like there's going to be a delay.
I think he's got to get things settled in his own party first.
Yeah.
And that's been coming anyway. But yes, the short answer to is he going to go after Clinton? Yes.
Yeah.
I think that one's kind of a no-brainer. As far as the Ryan announcement, I think that may have taken some folks off guard because Reince Priebus was just out earlier this week after the primary and said that they're going to support the Republican nominee, which is what he said all along. I've heard him say that many times in news programs as well as once in person. So that wasn't a surprise, but the fact that Paul Ryan comes out and says, "Yeah, I'm just not ready to endorse him quite yet,"
and he had some stipulations, some issues in there, and that is at first I thought this is a pretty good strategy. I like this, and it's going to confirm for people that they vetted him out and they're okay with him. We all unite. But then he threw out some issues like the Muslim issue, and I'm not sure Trump or the people that love Trump for what he has said is ready to back off on those issues.
I don't think they are either. And if anything, that it may make them more resolute to back him.
Right.
Because, the whole point of backing him for a lot of people was, we don't like the Republican establishment as it is. We want a change in it.
Yeah.
If this is the guy that the Republicans are saying, well, we're not ready to endorse him, then that may be the go sign for a lot of these people to say, yep, see, we were right.
Right.
We like him.
Yeah, and the minute Trump is the establishment, I'm not sure it feels so good. And how does Trump come back and say, I don't know how Paul Ryan expects him to do this, to come back and after now he's the nominee, come back and say, all right, this I said, I don't mean that. I said this, I don't mean that. I said this, I don't mean that. That is not going to work with his supporters.
Well, and the Trump, the response to Speaker Ryan yesterday that came out, he says, well, I'm not ready to support Speaker Ryan's agenda.
Yeah.
Which I guess was the perfect response, because what else do you say? When the Speaker of the House has come out and said this about you and you're the presumptive Republican nominee, it's not over by any stretch, because it's just going to get more interesting as we go.
I got to tell you, yesterday afternoon I was working on some stuff and I got in the message. Our show sheet, if you will, is what we call it, gets updated through the day, and I know what's going to be on tomorrow. We add, we take away, and I saw, Tanya Powers is going to be on tomorrow talking about, will Trump go after Clinton? About 5 minutes after that, a bulletin came across my phone that said Paul Ryan said he's not going to support Trump. And I'm like, that conversation just changed.
That conversation, absolutely.
Just like
which is one of the things I love about getting to talk to the affiliates is, you can, whatever happens overnight, you can pretty much just throw that out, and we're going to run with it.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right there. Good stuff, Tanya Powers. Fox News, have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. I talked about that issue of Utica, one of the worst economic situations in the United States. That's the headline. And I take a little bit of issue with it because Syracuse is not faring all that much better. But it just so happens that Utica is in the top 10. The worst place in America, apparently, or the most distressed city, is Camden, New Jersey, followed by Cleveland, Ohio, Gray, Indiana, Youngstown, Ohio in at number 4, and checking in at number 5 is Hartford, Connecticut. Believe it or not, Hartford, Connecticut, which you think of as a city that has always been so, their salaries are always higher in Hartford. Cost of living is higher. Their income from taxes higher, but they're in trouble, it says. And number 6 on the list is Utica. We're number 6.
And again, this is a list for, is it housing values, property?
It's everything. Here's what the story says from the Post-Standard. Utica residents suffer from one of the worst economic situations in the country, according to a recent study from the Economic Innovation Group. The Washington-based research group compiled economic data by zip code. So it's interesting. This is done by zip code nationwide and assigned distress scores from 0 to 100 based on 7 factors. Adults with high school diplomas, unoccupied houses, poverty rate, income, net job gains or losses, net business gains or losses, and percentage of adults not working. Both zip codes in Utica, 13502 and 13501. Now, there's more than just two zip codes in Utica, though. There's 13503.
Yeah, but those are the
P.O.
biggies.
It is.
Are those P.O. boxes, though?
Those are either
01 and 02
Yeah,
are the-
it's either side of Genesee Street.
Correct.
Anyway, 13502, 13501 had distress scores of over 90, and the city as a whole ranked as the 6th most distressed in the nation. EIG found that adults, about half of the adults in Utica, are not working, and more than a quarter of the population lives in poverty. The suburbs surrounding Utica, primarily Holland Patton, Whitesboro, New Hartford, fared much better. Other cities in the top 10, and it goes on to go on. Now, way down in the story, it says Syracuse zip codes also ranked high on the group's distress scale, particularly on the south and near west side, which had distress scores of over 97. The 13202 Syracuse zip was 7th most distressed in the state with a poverty rate of 60. They're giving Utica a distress score, I'll get through it, of 99.4, and that's percentage of population in distressed zips, 99.4%. So it's not, there are a lot of these out there that do this, these crazy polls, the area is terrible, and they come in and they try to do their own data. But this is a pretty reputable group that's doing this. But it is pre everything that's going on.
Right.
But it's still where we are right now. Everything that's going on is just, we've built it, now we hope they'll come. But not a joyous little piece of information. But isn't it nice that Syracuse Post-Standard made sure that story got right out there, and it's right out in the open. We're going to bury the part where Syracuse's murder rate, by the way, has just been a real problem over the last year. Wayne, good morning. You're on the radio.
Hey, how's everybody?
Hey, Wayne.
Morning.
Just wanted to say, it's probably spot on with what you said and like what they're saying, because if you look around, you go shopping, and you find these people in front of you with 3 carts full of food. You know damn well that they ain't working and getting 3 carts full of food. But this is the truth. And then, like you said, all this stuff that's going on now, they probably never counted for that.
Yeah, and that is not a part of the study, and not at all a part of the study. But at the same time, it's where we are right now.
The average grocery bill was not a factor in, was not one of the criteria.
Yeah, the unemployed is what I'm talking about.
Well,
when they're unemployed
that,
and
the
welfare rate and all that, that's not figured into it.
Listen, no, what's figured in is the people who aren't working. And it says nearly half of the people that live in Utica are not working right now. And that's
which
really
would make them unemployed, right?
Which would,
Yep.
I think technically you might be right there, Wayne. So, All right, Wayne, thanks, man.
All right, later.
Okay. By the way, Julie said, is it Gray, Indiana? It's Gary, Indiana. No, Julie, I am suffering from a dehydration in the morning. I don't know why. And I have a tough time getting the words out. It's Gary, Indiana, and that's what I said, but it just came out as something like I'd had a couple of cocktails, like Gary, Indiana. And it's Gary, Indiana.
So, I had this thought going back a couple of weeks, and it's got nothing to do with the story, but I've driven through recently downtown Utica, and I thought that it looked significantly better than it did. Now, this doesn't have to do with the statistics that
there's stuff that is happening.
Yeah, I think it's cleaned up down there. It looks good.
Listen, we can talk about this, but we kind of have an economic expert here in the studio.
Oh, God.
And that's Davey. Good morning, Davey. How you doing?
Good morning. You're calling me an economic expert?
And we will talk to Tim Reed coming up in a second, Davey. I'm sorry, Davey. I just had to use you on that one. So
That's okay.
All right. Quick break. Manaski does news coming up at WIBX.